Hey guys, how's it going, Dudey? I am back with another video today. This is going to be quite a long one, I reckon. So buckle up, get comfortable, yeah? There is a thing on the internet. It's been around for a little while now. I kind of gauge that it's like the new version of tier lists. It's called the iceberg, right? And obviously the principle is, you know, an iceberg, you see the tip, but actually under the water there is like a huge mass, and the deeper you go, the bigger the iceberg gets. So this has been adopted by things like conspiracy theories, urban legends, because, you know, the deeper you go, the further down the rabbit hole you go, the lower down the iceberg you go, the darker things tend to be. I did a conspiracy one on stream on the web show with Lozzie a few weeks ago. Go check that out. Today, I'm doing an urban legend iceberg that I found on the internet. The source to that is down below. And I thought, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of urban legends on this iceberg. I'm just going to go straight to the juice. I am going to explain the urban legends at the pit, the deepest, darkest depths of this iceberg. Okay, so we're going straight down to bottom tier. So let's kick it off, shall we? So we have Red Cap. So I did a bit of digging, because I have to admit I didn't actually know any of these that are on this final tier, so I had to search all of them. And Red Cap seems to be a little malevolent goblin dude, right? So we're talking cryptids here, because obviously cryptids and urban legends kind of blur into one. It's a little goblin dude that is seen on the borders of the Scottish Anglo-Saxon border. He tends to patrol and very malevolent and evil, and he got the name Red Cap because he wears a hat, right? He wears a hat, and if he kills you, if he slashes you up, he will dip his cap in your blood, which of course will stain the hat red. So that also means that if you see a little goblin with a red hat, first of all, I reckon you're probably going to be like, fucking hell, goblins exist. But then also you're going to be like, oh, his hat is red, he's just murdered someone, I'm probably in trouble. To be fair, even if he's got a non-red colour hat on, you know he's probably going to murder you and turn it red. So basically, if you see Red Cap, if you see this little goblin fucker, run for your life. Next up, we've got the Rat Man of Southend. Now, this one is a story, an urban legend based around a homeless man starving to death under a bridge in Southend. He eventually was so weakened by the starvation that under the bridge he let rats just ravage him, just eat him until he was no more. That is the legend of the Rat Man of Southend. However, apparently, if at night you wander past this certain bridge, you may see the Rat Man, and he may come out and attack you and kill you. And often under this bridge, you can hear the wails and screams of the Rat Man. Echoes of history, ghostly paranormal echoes of the time that he was ravaged and eaten alive by the rats. So you're either going to get a spook and a wail, or you're going to get murdered by the Rat Man of Southend. What the fuck is that noise? Oh, it's Linos! Let's go! That's right, guys. So this isn't like a paid promotion. Basically, Lido's contacted me asking if I would help share their music. I listened to it. I think it's really fucking good. So I thought, you know what? I want to support good music, and I think they're absolute bangers. So yeah, their EP, it's over on Spotify, it's over on YouTube. I'll link it down below. Check out Lidos, guys, Lidos. They got some absolutely banging songs, and I think that you'll enjoy them. So it's free. If you like good music, check them out. You know what I mean? Done. The London Monster. This one is very interesting. So it turns out there was basically a Jack the Ripper before Jack the Ripper in London in 1788, and he was known as the London monster. So apparently, back in the 1700s, a large man would follow women around, often rich women, shout obscenities at them, and then stab them in the arse. That's not a joke. I mean, it does say here stabs them in the buttocks, but essentially, the TLDR is he'd follow them around, stab him in the arse, maybe call him a bitch or something. Some reports claim that he had knives fastened to his knees so he could sort of like, you know, give it one of them in your bum, like bosh. Fucking knee knife to the arse. Sounds unpleasant, that. Other accounts claim that he used something called a nosegay, which I had to Google as I had no fucking idea what a nosegay was. It's essentially a little bouquet of flowers. And what he'd do is he'd be like, oh, do you want to sniff me bouquet? But actually there was a knife in there and he'd be like, bosh, stab you in the face. I mean, he's innovative, to say the least, but also a bit of a bastard. Now, every single time this assailant would successfully escape before help came along. Now obviously this is the early days in London. There was sort of a police force. They were called the Bow Street Runners. It was literally like the first kind of incarnation of a police force, but there was a lot of pressure on them to catch this guy because he had 50 victims of like stabbings and stuff and abuse, which is mad that they never caught him. This actually led, apparently, to a lot of men in London wearing a badge on their lapel that said, basically, I'm not the London Monster, so it's all right. But that seems quite counterintuitive, because surely the London Monster could just put that badge on and basically be invisible and then just, you know, knee someone in the arse with his knee knife thing. Apparently, a philanthropist put up £100 for this man to be caught. I mean, I don't know the inflation rates, you can Google this yourself, but in 1788, I reckon 100 quid was quite a lot of money. So this guy was clearly terrorising London and getting a name for himself. Apparently this led to armed vigilantes going around London, so essentially a load of Batmen running around London looking for this guy. Women actually wore like copper plating, like essentially armour, so that they weren't stabbed. And apparently pickpockets, the snidey little fuckers, actually use this to their advantage. What they would do is they would pickpocket like some rich men and then shout, oh my god, it's the London Monster, and then everyone would be like, ah, and then they'd use the commotion to escape. But yeah, that's the London Monster. I had no idea. The 1788, essentially like a mild Jack the Ripper before Jack the Ripper. Insane. Right, Captain Roger Vanderbird's skeleton in the tree. This is nuts. So basically, there was this dude, yeah? Farmer Roger, right? Now, he's got a farm, and he's got a load of trees and stuff, a load of great oaks, and there's a big storm coming. I'm pretty sure this was in, like, the Miami kind of area. Big storm coming, right? And it hits his farm, and his farm is wrecked. And one of his great oaks pierced down the middle with a bolt of lightning. Holy shit. So he goes over to his amazing great oak, and what does he find inside? He finds a skeleton inside the tree. What the fuck? It's pretty well preserved apart from a shattered humerus. There's also through the left, I think, cheekbone, like a kind of break or a stab. There is also a diary on this skeleton. Amazing. So they look into it, and it turns out this dude was Captain Roger Vanderbird, who was captain in the military in the 1790s when the Americans were fighting the Native American Indians, and basically he was captured by said Native American Indians, and then he escaped capture rather than being tortured, but he was also heavily wounded, and so he kind of, you know, limped away as far as he could until he got to this tree which had a big opening, and he was like, right, I'll hide in here until I can regain my strength, which makes no sense because he had no food, no water, and no way of healing himself. But anyway, they do say time is a great healer, so he goes into this hole in this tree, but actually falls down a bit further than he thinks, and so now he's trapped inside this tree, and this whole time he's actually updating his diary, which is very nice of him, very handy for this story, in fact, and also lets you know like who he was, etc, etc. So yeah, basically after 5 days of disillusioned entries into the diary, and starving and dehydration, he succumbed and died, which is obviously tragic, and was seemingly forgotten about for a century until this bolt of lightning struck open the tree, revealing his skeleton. So, like, that's just a cool urban legend, isn't it? I mean, wow, you know? What do you think of that one? Okay, we also have the Warden of Burnbeck Halls. Now, this one I couldn't find anything on for the longest time until I stumbled across a YouTube video with like 17 views on this subject, and then I went deeper because this person seemingly knows the person that made this iceberg because they referenced the person that made the iceberg. So then I went back to the iceberg on Reddit and I found the person who had the YouTube channel commented on the iceberg asking the creator of the iceberg, what the fuck is the Warden of Burnbeck Hall? And the person who made the person who made the iceberg explained. And so I have the screen grab here, so here it is, and it goes as follows. It's very short. It says, the Warden of Burnbeck Halls is an urban legend in Weston-super-Mare in the UK, where it's reported that a demonic warden guards the premises of the student halls of Burnbeck Halls, and it's reported that if you are still awake between the hours of 12 and 5 a.m, that you might see bright lights outside of your room, and if you see this, then it's too late, because you've been seen by the warden's gaze, and you're about to be dragged to the underworld. Now, that's a pretty cool urban legend, and also a shit one, because if you're a student at this, I don't know, university, I'm guessing, in Weston-super-Mare, and you rock up after a night out on the fucking piss, and probably the gear, and you rock into your room at 3 a.m, chances are this warden is going to rock up and drag you to hell. So, I'd imagine the nightlife for those students at that university is quite shit. So, that's the Warden of Burnbeck Halls. Okay, now, lastly, we have the Cowhead story, yeah? And this took me fucking ages to find for a very good reason, because apparently this story, right, is so scary that by finishing it, by reading it, you will die of fright. So there is a chance that by listening to this video, you're going to die of fright. By reading this for this video, I'm going to die of fright. But also understand, if this video is released, I obviously didn't die of fright, but it's still funny nonetheless. So the other thing is, this story is apparently so fucking bad and so scary. By the way, I haven't read it yet. I thought I'd save it for this video. That it's from Japan in the 18th century. That's when it was written, right? And it was so scary and was killing so many people that all copies of the story were split up and burnt. But certain fragments managed to survive. And if you can find all the fragments and piece them together, then you will again have the Cowhead story, and then people can read it and die. Right? So I googled where I could find the story, and I clicked link after link after link, probably got a load of viruses and got nowhere until I stumbled across one link. A link to a post on Facebook. That's right, I found this full story on Facebook, and I hate Facebook. I rarely ever use Facebook, and the fact I had to go on Facebook to actually get this pains me. But here we are. Now, full disclosure, I'm going to read from the screen, okay? Because this is fucking long. But I'm sure that we can enjoy it together. Just excuse me that I'm reading it off of my laptop, okay? So I'm not going to be making eye contact with you. I'm going to be making eye contact with my screen. I know I've had a lot of people in the past criticize me for doing this every now and then. For example, the Russian sleep experiment video. Someone was like, how can you just read off of a screen while you're on it? Well, such is life, mate. I'm sorry, okay? But I can't be fucked to memorize all of this, especially as I had to translate some of it from Japanese, all right? But yeah, so without further ado, let's get scared to death, shall we? So this I'm just going to read the whole post, okay? So it says, this was commented on Scary for Kids by Cute Kittens. Oh my god, guys, I found it. The real story. I went to a hiking trip in Japan, and where we are camping, there was a big hole. I looked in it and I found a book with a cow print on the front. It's really old and in Japanese, so I've translated it into English. P.S. It kind of does make you insane, but in a weird way. You will feel alone, and you cannot think of many things but the cow head. Here it goes. Oh my goodness, guys. They went camping and found it in a hole. Okay, so, cow head. A long time ago, 1776 in Japan. There's a lot of 1770s and 80s in this video, isn't there? There lived a young woman called Hasuchi and her son, Masaoka. In winter, it was very cold there and they didn't have much money, but they did own a cow from Hasuchi's father, who died. He told them that they must slice open the cow and sleep in it for winter, but never take it out in the summer. Otherwise bad things would happen. Masaoka and Hasuchi were delighted with the cow and sliced it finely open. They then cut out a hole in the head, poked a massive hole through the nostrils and plucked out the eyes so that they could fit their heads in. They cut off the legs and the tail of the cow, then smothered fox's fur all over the inside, cleaning it and making it nice and cozy. They lived in a hut that was not warm at all, so the cow would be a great help to them. In the winter, Masaoka and Hasuchi would curl up in the cow's body and be nice and warm. In the summer, they resorted to natural weather which kept them warm. The cow's body did them good in the winter months, and once they even let an old neighbor use their cow, and they got money for it. But one day in the summer, a cold breeze blew that made Masaoka and Hasuchi very cold. They were scared of getting hypothermia, so they took one look at the cow and dived into it. Bang! They were blacked out. When they woke up, they realized the hut had blown away in the horizon and there were big storm clouds. Hasuchi looked up to see the ghost of her father. "You have cursed me with my only devil left," he said, outraged. "Now I cannot repay Satan. A terrible thing will happen to you." And with that, he cast his index finger at the clouds. As lightning struck down, and out of the lightning appeared a small mob of rival city inhabitants. Hasuchi screamed and shoved herself and Masaoka into the cow head to hide from the mob. She could hear her father's voice directing the mob to her and her son. She held Masaoka tight as tears ran down her face with every footstep, closer and closer, then to a stop. She peered out of a stitch in the cow to see a large man standing outside the cow with an axe. He was smiling. She covered her mouth with her hand and screamed, then shuffled up her head into the cow's head. She thought the man would get confused to where to chop her or her son in half, as the cow was very big and baggy. He looked at the head, just in time to see a white eye staring at him. He banged the axe down on her head and it sliced right off, inside the cow's head. Masaoka was terribly scared. He ran out of the top of the cow's open neck and into the woods. His clothes stained with blood. The mob were very hungry, but they somehow refused to eat anything but human or cow. Today was a lucky day for them, so they ate both, each one taking a big, long and deep chew. That night, the man who had the axe started choking inside the house. He began holding his neck and coughing. His wife started panicking and rang a bell to summon his friends. They surrounded him as he lay on the floor dying. He then got up as his eyes turned completely red. He then turned to his best guard and coughed up a ball of something black and white in his face. It was the cow's head. "It's alive. Cow head is alive," said his guard. Everybody screamed. The cow's head started swirling around on the floor, then levitating up and up and up until it fell down on the guard's head. He cried out for help as the cow turned its head down to him, opened its mouth and swallowed him whole. Nobody dared to be next, so they all ran away, all except the man with the axe, which he had left in Hasuchi's neck. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a headless Hasuchi came crashing in, holding Masaoka by the neck. "You ran away," Hasuchi whispered in his ear. "I loved you, but you deceived me. Why didn't you die with your mother?" Masaoka started screaming and croaking as he was suffocating. I don't want to die," he gurgled. Then out of nowhere an axe appeared in Hasuchi's hand. "You're going to die now. You're going to die how I died, then you're next." There was a pause before she turned to her killer. "Yes, you're next, Camper Culture." "How do you know my name?" he cried. "I know everything. The cow's power is smart," she replied. Then in a flash the axe came down on Masaoka's head. It fell off, and she kicked it to the cow before chucking Masaoka's body into a sandpit. The cow stood a step before the head. As the cow's head hopped forward, then also swallowed Masurka's head whole. Its head started shaking and twirling about, then came to a stop. "This is too much for your living," it croaked. "I must take over now." It levitated once again in the air and flew at Hasuchi. She dropped to the floor dead as a clone of her popped up at the side. What the fuck? The cow had disappeared, but appeared on the living Hasuchi's head. Then she raised up her top to show blood dripping from words on her chest, saying, "Don't touch the cow's head or drop it in hell." She flew out of the room into the sky, where she dropped into some foreign country. She still lives there to this day with her cow head. And one day, if you're unlucky, the person to meet her might be you. But be warned, she will kill you with an axe. That is the biggest load of shit I've ever read in my life. But apparently it was made in the 18th century, and apparently from reading it, I should now die of fright. Are you scared? What did you guys think of that? I mean, there's some shit on the internet, man. I don't think that was made in the 18th, 19th, whatever the fuck, 17, whatever. But if it was, fair play. But what the fuck was that? So there's a cow, it's like sacred, and you're not allowed to take it outside in the summer. But if you use it in the winter, for literally cut it open and get inside of it, then it will keep you safe. But if you use it in the summer, then you're doomed. So she uses it in the summer by accident, or lets her neighbour use it or some shit, and then bad people come, cut her head off. Her son runs away. The cow possesses her. She spits out, or the guy who killed her spits out a cow's head or some shit, and then she comes back from the dead and kills her son because he didn't die with her. And then I mean, I don't know what just happened. God, sorry to rip you out of the video, but I actually realised when I sat down to edit, I missed one. It's called The Gay Roommate, right? And so basically, this one is, this guy has a roommate. They get on really well. He's at uni, in his uni halls. And after a while, he starts like not feeling great and having some rectum pain. So he goes to the campus doctor, who runs tests on him and has a little inspection, and basically realises there's a lot of ether in his bloodstream, which is used to anaesthetise people. And when they get to the bottom of what's going on, essentially his roommate was drugging him and having his way with him. But yeah, that is the depths of this iceberg. So nice. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What do you guys think of that? Some of those urban legends were cool. That final one, I'm glad that I saved the story till actually making this video, because what the fuck. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know. Please hit that like button. Share the video, help me get to 100k. Do you want any more of these? Do you want me to look at some other tiers? Because I will, of these icebergs. If you want me to do a part 2 of this, I'll go to the next tier up. I've kind of done this the wrong way around, but I didn't want to start with the shallowest tier. That's shit, isn't it? So I thought we'd get right into the juice, you know. So here we are. Also, guys, go and check out Lido's. Like I said, I haven't been paid or anything. I'm just doing this because I want to support good music, up and coming music, and I do believe that these guys have got something. So Lido's on YouTube, on Spotify, yeah, go check them out, go follow them, and go give their songs a few listens. It's all free in it anyway, so fuck it, why not? If you like that kind of music, it's great summertime music, so go and check it out. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you very soon. Sweet one, guys.